Hey guys, what it do? It's your boy Supreme Chia the God. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you mess with the video. So today I want to talk about Sinu and leadership. If you guys read the latest chapter of Lookism, i.e. the one behind the paywall, the fast pass on Webtoon, then you know what I'm talking about. If not, spoilers alert. So Sinu, we when we first meet him, we find he's a very interesting character, right? He has a different type of charisma. He comes through to save the boys, and when he shows up, you're like, oh, is he gonna be a badass? And then he starts begging and pleading. You're like, wait, is he fake? Like, what is that? And then he almost blackmails Black Bear into not hurting the kids, and you're like, okay. And then when Gun and Goo pull up, you see a different side of him, and he's vicious, and he's angry, and he's raging. And when he loses, he realizes, okay, I have to find another way, you know? And what's key and important and integral and beautiful about his characterization is how he's willing to make himself be the villain for the sake of saving and protecting who and what he cares about, which is the main action that he's created in the latest chapter. He basically, convinced Jake that he's a villain. He convinced Jake to go fight him and beat him up, and instead he's going to join the workers. He's going to join the workers, and with the majority of his gang, as a way to say that, oh yeah, quote unquote, us big deal are going to join the workers, so now we're part of them, um, so that big deal can be left alone. Now unfortunately, because we know what happens in the future, we know that big deal ends up still being taken by Gun anyway. So his plan, as strategic as it is, and as thoughtful to the girls as it is, ruins Jake. So as a result, he's actually largely to blame for Jake's path to the dark side. Because Jake was a fair guy, always loyal friend, always willing to do and sacrifice for the people he cared about. And I think because of Sinu's action and him forcing his own problems onto Jake, he limited Jake. I think he limited Jake and pigeonholed him into having to stay with Big Deal, essentially limiting his potential as a person and as a character in general. Because of that, all he could do is lead a gang, you know, and that's all we know him for. There's no other things he can do because he would never let his people, go, and he would never let them down either. Which is a shame, right? Which is a shame because he wanted Jerry to go to school. He wanted him to stay at school, and he was trying to figure out how to live life in a different way. He had so much to learn about life, but because of situations, he was forced into something that's very difficult. So is it bad leadership or good leadership by Sino for him pushing all his weight and he's by protecting the people he cares about, he's putting somebody else he cares about in the worst position possible. He's putting him in front of every bullet, while simultaneously committing suicide by vilifying himself, right? So he's doing it all for the sake of the girls. Now, we're not 100% sure the circumstances of the girls. If they're fine, I suppose he got what he wanted. If not, then he failed miserably because Jake ended up in jail by being caught up by big deal stuff that he never had to worry about prior to Sinu forcing him into that circumstance, right? When he was just a gang member, he never wanted the leadership and he was wanting to leave. Like, he helped, he just wanted to help them for a bit. And when he saw things are moving a bit mad, he was like, this is not what I signed up for. And he's trying to leave. But, Sinu forcing his will upon him and guilt tripping him essentially into taking over the role, it's interesting. I know he's a loved character, but he's a very manipulative person. Sino, he must be given, he must be told, and I love him. He's definitely one of my favorite characters, especially one from like a flashback, and it's one that's been executed phenomenal. I think the whole Jake and Samuel Soul, flashback has been insane. So Jake beat Samuel. So when did Samuel come back and beat Jake? How did he do it? Some people say it's a free for all. So I'm interested to find out and discover all of these things. But what I caught, what really hit me was like, wow, this guy really went ahead and gave his problems to a kid, in order to protect the love of his life. Maybe I don't know if he loves her or not, but and she figured it out. So does she tell Jake later on, or does she not? And if she does, is that why Jake ends up staying? But it's still guilt tripping him into staying regardless, right? It's a very manipulative thing. And why I wanted to talk about that leadership and stuff like that. And I'm probably going to title it manipulative now that I've said it, because I think it's actually more interesting. But in terms of like, why I wanted to go in this direction is because I feel like everybody's kind of looking at the good of Sino. Like, oh man, he really cared for his people. Oh man, he really blah blah blah. But he got, all of them to jump Jerry and Jake. Now he knew Jerry and Jake would win, but that's all these guys getting their ass whooped for some shit they didn't even know about. They didn't even know why they're doing it, but they're getting their ass whooped. In hindsight, I think, because hindsight is 2020. Hindsight, it was a great idea. All right, it was a smart tactical decision by Sinu. It was the last bit of hope, last bit of grasp on hope that he could muster. So he did what he felt was the correct move to do. He tried his best. Alternatively, because we know what occurs after, it was a flop. It wasn't the best decision, and it wasn't executed the best way possible. So it was a failure. And that's the intriguing thing about it, man. What do you guys think of this situation? What do you guys think of Sinu? Now, I think he's a phenomenal character, a great leader, although a very selfish one. As the crew and old face were like, yo, like, we actually need to figure out a way to get money. I know you want to protect the girls, but they have to start pulling the weight a little bit. We're protecting them, but we're not gaining or getting anything out of this. We're struggling to survive ourselves, all in the name of serve and protect. Which is, I think, a fair analysis in many ways by Old Face, even though he's a bit more, like a bit more vicious, a bit more loose when it comes to rules, or he's a bit more aggressive. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I hope you guys found it interesting. What do you guys think? Do you think Sinu's manipulative, or do you just think he's a good guy that was forced into a corner, or do you think that because again he already lost an eye, and then you have somebody like Gu who absolutely annihilated him and pretty much rendered him useless for weeks. So he's been through it. He's definitely been through the gutter. I'm not minimizing his situation. I'm not minimizing all that he went through, but simultaneously him shifting all of that weight onto somebody else is not necessarily fair either. What you think? But great writing. It's been your boy Supreme Cheer to God. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.